Hi, I'm Maria Thea Harris-Lavellosos on social media. Welcome back to Sober 50 podcast on Organised style. Grab a cuppa, support this podcast on Patreon, and relax with us. If you're watching this podcast on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, like and comment so more people can see as well as hear from our podcast guests. Today's guest is Melanie Keane. Melanie has been sewing for less than 10 years. However, much of her knowledge of fabric and patterns has been enriched through her sewing groups that she has led at the Lighthouse in her local areas. Today's episode is where Melanie lets me ask her more personal questions about the sewing groups that she's run for the Lighthouse. You'll also hear what Melanie is doing for her local community now. If we could, how did you feel when the refugee group were no longer there? Overnight, they weren't there because you got a lot out of that experience. So how did you manage personally with that?
It was a real shock. We'd gone there with little gifts to give them, their own little scissors and needles and things. So after the initial shock, I did feel a loss. It sounds dramatic to say the word bereft because it's not like that. It's not as bad as that, but it was something had been ripped away. I had a role. I was organising this. We had a team. It was like a job, although it was voluntary. It gave me purpose every week.
Yeah.
I had all these relationships with people. So it really did tug at my heart. But then I sat down. We had a coffee with the little team I've got. We sat in a coffee shop near the refugee centre. And I said to them and also to myself, we're sitting here having a coffee. Those people have been sent all over the country. They don't know where they're going. Some families were split up because if the children had reached a certain age, they were then seen as an individual. So people had been having hospital treatment. What we felt was nothing in comparison with how we imagined the refugees felt. We'd got to know them. We didn't really have much conversation, obviously, but just smiles and the warmth. So, which is what spurred me on to what next? That's how the Lighthouse Sewing Project was born. One thing ends, another thing begins.
Like with the Lighthouse Project, you've had that experience, you got a lot out of it, and you actually asked this time to run that group. I can see that that's a real growth from your perspective when you started the original group and didn't really sew much, and now you had that whole experience. So yeah, why not go for it?
Someone said, overheard someone saying, "Oh, I wonder if she teaches anywhere else." And I thought, oh, they think I'm a teacher.
When you started with the refugee group, you'd only had limited experience in sewing, and you know, after running that group for 18 months, you definitely gained a lot and were able to then stand up and say, okay, what's next? I want to keep doing this for another group.
Yes, yeah. And it gave me confidence because I am quite a shy person. But having a role gave me confidence. And I had something to talk to people about. They were interested. It gave me a purpose as well, because we all like to have a purpose.
Melanie, you've talked about the Lighthouse. Can you tell us what that is?
It's a charity that was set up several years ago now, and it's to help people having a hard time in life. There's lots of different areas. It's grown year on year. But the projects that we have running there at the moment, we have a food bank, we have a baby bank, we have a style studio, we have therapy groups, coffee groups, a cooking group. There's so many different groups, and we serve the community lunch on a Wednesday. So we have a lot of people who come in who live on the streets, who are recovering addicts, who are depressed or just lonely. So it's for people who are having a hard time in life. And the food bank, they need to be referred by social services. So it's a well-run organisation. So people can just go in there and just start to mix with people.
Okay. And this podcast, because it's going out in June, it is June. Is there something that's happening that you'd like to talk about?
Well, thank you, Maria. That's a good inroad into our fundraising event, which is
Good.
called Sophisticated. So I've been admiring frocktails for a while and really like the idea of it. But as I'm not an evening person, I was trying to think of something in the afternoon. So I had this idea about afternoon tea.
Yep.
So that's what we do. We are a bit more of a lower profile frocktails. It's a little bit more casual. And the reasons behind it are to raise money for the sewing project,
Yep.
but also to have fun and to bring the community together. And we do that by having this in-person tea. We had over 100 people last year. And then we also run a challenge, which I think it starts in September. And that is worldwide, open to all the sewing community. And the theme of that is to make something that you would wear to an afternoon tea.
Oh, okay. Lovely.
Yeah. And last year we raised, I don't know if I've already said this, £1,200. So that was a huge amount of money.
Yep.
Yeah. And we hope to do the same thing this year.
Or more.
Or more. Local people have been very generous, and all the big companies as well, donating patterns and prizes and things for the goodie bags. So we've had lots of talk about it already, and hopefully we will sell out.
Oh, I hope so too. Yep. So if people want to get tickets to support Sophisticated, what Instagram account do they go to?
They can find out more about it on my Instagram.
And also on the account called Surrey Sews.
Yes. So,
awesome.
So I say they can on Instagram at Surrey Sews, and there's a link. Yeah, the other thing is as well, we want to keep it affordable. The tickets are £35. So that includes Prosecco, afternoon tea, afternoon of fun, and then £10 of that goes to the Lighthouse.
That's really good. That is affordable.
Yeah. We don't have too many overheads. And my husband got a catering company, so he does the afternoon tea.
Lovely. That's really good. And how many people do you envisage you'll be selling tickets to this year?
Well, I think we're going to go to 120.
Great.
Yeah, we want to keep it small. Obviously, we're limited by the building as well, but we want people to be able to chat, to make relationships. And of course, we have to have room for a catwalk, which is quite a casual catwalk. It's, if you want to, it's only a few paces. And if it's anything like last year, it's just really warm and inviting. Mm-hmm. And we all want to know what people have made, don't we? We want to know which fabric they've used.
Great.
In fact, here's a picture of the team, actually. I couldn't do it on my own. I do have a team. So we've got Angie, Eleanor, Yvette, and Tanya. Having a role in the sewing world has given me confidence. And I was on the catwalk this year for Fabric Godmother, which was amazing. And I did apply for it, but to think that they chose me at my age. So this is a picture of me in my banana dress, which I wore with silver trainers. And it was awesome. It was such good fun.
For people who aren't from the UK, where was the catwalk that you were on?
Oh, right. Well, we have 2 big sewing festivals. In fact, we have 3. There's one in Birmingham, but there's 2 in London. And the biggest one is the London Stitch Festival.
Yeah.
So it's held in Islington, central London. And it's a really big place. Oh, it's such fun. All the fabric companies, there's loads of workshops, all the sewing bees were there. Such a great atmosphere. And a lot of companies put forward 5 people, mainly 5 or 6 people, to show off their new creations or their new fabric, or just a bit of publicity for themselves. And so I went on representing Fabric Godmother in this blue and yellow bright denim. And, you know, by the end of the day, they had sold out of that denim. Tony from the Sewing Bee was wearing it as well. But, so it's quite flattering.
I'm sure that you had a role to play in their selling out of that fabric. A big role.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Surrey Sews. What's your involvement with that group?
Yvette and I from Stash Hub started the group. Well, we got together, which I've spoken about already, through her willingness to support the project. So then we thought, as sewing can be quite an insular, isolating hobby, let's bring people from Surrey all together. So we put a message out on Instagram. We chose Woking Park as our first meeting. We turned up, took our picnic blankets and cake. About 10 people showed up. Mm-hmm. And then they were interested in getting together again. So we set up a WhatsApp group, and then we went to a couple of shops. Then we had a sewing afternoon, and now we run fabric swaps.
Yes,
really popular fabric swaps, and we don't have any rules for that. You just turn up, take fabric if you want to, or not, and you can take what you like and take home what you like. And then we have a table for chatting, tea and coffee and cake. So we do all sorts of little things. We're going to have a session on fitting, but basically it's about bringing people from Surrey together, a small Surrey sewing community.
Again, you're involved in the sewing community and developing community connections, and you're getting so much out of it.
I am, and I think I'm equipping other people as well, because I can't do any of this on my own. We get together as a team. They're getting the same pleasure. They're sharing their skills. They're feeling good about it. They're getting purpose. So it's win-win all around. Everyone's happy.
So if people who are listening and watching this podcast want to find out how to start a group in their area, what advice would you give them?
Well, I would say if you have an idea about starting a group, then that means you need to start a group, because that shows that you've got passion, and you need a lot of passion, patience, perseverance in the beginning. And if you have that passion, then that is what will drive you. Just get in touch with me, actually. You can follow me on Instagram and message me, and I'm happy to chat things over with you. Have a think about where you might want to start your group. There may well be a refugee centre nearby, or you might have a food bank. There's so many charities out there, and they might not even know they need a sewing group. And you could offer that. And then as for resources and things like that, shout outs through Instagram. Just be bold, ask friends, have coffee mornings. There's so many different ways you can do it. But just do it.
I agree. Melanie, thank you for coming on to the podcast for Sew Over 50. You've shown that being part of the community and giving to the community is something that really gives you the boldness and the confidence to do what you are honestly meant to be doing when it comes to sewing and with your community. So thank you.
Oh, well, it's been lovely to chat about it, actually. You can see the smile on my face the whole way through, because it does give me so much pleasure.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you so much, Melanie. Thanks for listening to both episodes with Melanie Keane. This episode of Sew Over 50 podcast on Sew Organised Style was video and audio produced by me, Maria Thea Harris, in my sewing room with permission of Melanie. Sound by Knife on YouTube. Many thanks for the ongoing support of the podcast Patreon contributors. Their ongoing support enables me to develop this podcast for you for free. Make sure you direct message Sandy and the editors at Sober50 on Instagram to contribute to the ongoing posts and challenges the team provides to the community of over 53,000 followers. You can subscribe to Soul Organised Style Podcast, but with an S, not a Z, on all good podcast apps. Make sure you go back and listen to our free Sober50 podcast archive on Soul Organised Style Podcast. I look forward to joining you in your sewing room next time. Stay safe, everyone.